Hi.
I married Amelia, a widow with 2 kids, Daniel and Mia. It wasn't perfect, but I wanted to be there for them. I wasn't their real dad, but I embraced the role, showed up for their school events, birthdays, and helped with whatever they needed. I thought that's what family was. But as the kids got older, things started changing. Daniel began ignoring rules, missing curfews, talking back. I figured it was just a phase. But then Mia started acting the same way, disrespecting me, rolling her eyes when I tried to set boundaries. I spoke to Amelia about it, but she didn't seem concerned. It was like I was the outsider, and they were on the kids' side. Then came the moment that crushed me. At dinner one night, I tried talking to Mia about her slipping grades. She snapped, "You're not my real dad." Daniel echoed it, "Yeah, we don't need you." Amelia just sat there, agreeing with them. It hit me hard. I realized that no matter how much I gave, I was just a provider, not a father. From that point, I started pulling back, gradually at first, but it was clear I wasn't wanted. I tried talking to Amelia, but she brushed it off like I was overreacting. That's when I knew things weren't going to get better. Things got worse after that night. I didn't just feel like an outsider in my own home, I was one. The kids continued their disrespect, and Amelia never stepped in. I started withdrawing, emotionally and financially. I didn't want to keep giving if no one appreciated it. I remember the first time I stopped buying Mia the clothes she asked for, or when I skipped one of Daniel's school events. It felt weird at first, like I was breaking some unspoken rule. But the truth was, I was sick of being the invisible man who paid the bills but got no respect in return. It didn't take long before things got really bad. One day, Daniel trashed my car, scratched the paint with some keys. I didn't yell. I just stood there, numb, realizing that they were pushing me to the edge. I didn't react the way I wanted. Instead, I went quiet. I started keeping track of the things they did, the small things that piled up over time. The insults, the lack of respect. But I was done trying to fix things. I wasn't going to keep giving love and support to people who made it clear they didn't want it. And Amelia? She didn't even notice how much I was pulling away. She just kept acting like everything was normal. That's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to let them keep walking all over me anymore. I started looking into legal options, gathering evidence. I didn't know what would happen next, but I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I had to face the harsh truth. I was just a paycheck. That was all I was to Amelia and the kids. The moment that really shattered me came when Amelia flat out told me that I wasn't their real dad. I mean, I knew it already, but hearing her say it like that. It was different. It wasn't just the kids anymore. It was her too. She told me, straight to my face, that she had raised them on her own, that I was never really their father. That moment hit harder than anything the kids had ever said. I felt completely worthless. I had given everything, my time, my love, my money, and it meant nothing. She'd backed them up every step of the way, even when they disrespected me, and now she was telling me I had never truly belonged in their lives. I felt like I was in a fog after that. I couldn't even look at her the same way anymore. It was like the veil had been lifted, and I saw the family I had worked so hard to make perfect for years, and it wasn't real. I wasn't needed. I wasn't wanted. And the worst part? I had let myself believe that I was. It broke me. So, I started withdrawing more. No more late-night talks. No more trying to fix their problems. I didn't want to be part of a family that didn't see me as one of them. I just wanted out. I couldn't keep doing this to myself. And while part of me hoped the kids would realize how much I had done for them, I knew it was too late. The damage had already been done. Once I fully realized how little I mattered to them, I pulled back completely. I stopped all support, both emotional and financial. It wasn't some big dramatic exit. I didn't yell or make a scene, but I just went quiet. I stopped asking about their day, stopped attending events. If they needed anything, I ignored it. I stopped doing the little things that had once been so automatic. And I didn't care. Amelia didn't notice at first. It's like she didn't even realize that the guy who used to take care of everything wasn't doing it anymore. But the kids? They noticed. Daniel's attitude became even worse when he saw that I wasn't giving him any more handouts, and Mia started to act out more. I didn't confront them directly. Instead, I started gathering evidence, little things, like how they had damaged my stuff, the insults, the way they acted like I wasn't even there. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet, but I needed to see it all written down. Needed to prove that this wasn't just me overreacting. Then, one night, Daniel got drunk and smashed one of my old records. I told him to go to his room, but he started shouting at me, calling me pathetic. That's when it finally clicked. I was done. I kept thinking, if Amelia had just stepped up, if she had just backed me up once, maybe I would have stayed. But I wasn't going to fight for a family that didn't want me. I had already given them everything, and in the end, I was just a guy paying bills. I made up my mind, I wasn't going to stay in this toxic, one-sided mess anymore. They could figure it out without me. A few weeks passed, and I stuck to my decision to withdraw. It wasn't easy, sometimes I still wanted to step in, to be the one who fixed things. But every time I thought about it, I remembered Amelia's words. I wasn't their real dad, and I never would be. But then, out of nowhere, Mia came to me one evening. She looked different, guilty, almost. She apologized for everything, said she didn't mean the things she said. Daniel came by too, though he was quieter about it. He apologized too, in his own way, but it felt empty. Like he was only sorry because he could tell I wasn't putting up with it anymore. I didn't know what to say. A part of me wanted to forgive them, to be the dad they never had, to teach them right from wrong. But another part of me felt like it was too late. They had already shown me who they were, and I couldn't just forget how they treated me. Amelia didn't say much when it all happened. She just watched from the sidelines, like she always did. She didn't intervene, didn't make it clear that they needed to take responsibility for their actions. And that's when I realized, the kids might be sorry, but Amelia, she wasn't. I could tell she wanted me to go back to being the guy who just fixed everything, but I wasn't going to be that guy anymore. I wasn't going to be their backup plan. I wasn't going to sit around, waiting for them to decide they wanted me in their lives. If they truly cared, they would have shown it a long time ago. I didn't say much. I just nodded, accepted their apologies, and kept my distance. But the regret lingered, heavy in the air. I started to wonder if I had made the right choice. Could things have changed if I had just stayed? Would they have come around eventually? But deep down, I knew the answer. I wasn't going to keep sacrificing my peace for people who didn't see me as worth it. I had already given too much, and I couldn't go back. T was clear by then. No matter how many times they apologized, nothing was going to change. The kids were sorry because they saw that I wasn't putting up with their crap anymore, but Amelia? She never truly owned up to her part in it. She never admitted that she had let me be the punching bag for their anger and resentment. I started to see just how deep the betrayal ran. One night, after the kids had apologized, I found myself sitting with Amelia in the living room. The silence was thick, like we were both avoiding the elephant in the room. She finally broke it, casually asking, "Are you really going to leave us over this?" Her voice had that familiar tone, the one that always made me feel like I was overreacting. I looked at her, feeling numb. "You never even tried to stop them," I said. "You never defended me when they insulted me. You just let them treat me like I was nothing." She looked hurt, but I could see it in her eyes. She didn't fully understand. She didn't get it. Maybe she thought this was just a phase, that I'd get over it like I always did. But this time, I wasn't backing down. I stood up and walked to the door. "I'm done, Amelia," I said. "I've given all I can. I'm done being invisible. I'm done being the guy who fixes everything and gets nothing in return. If you want me gone, I'll be gone." I didn't wait for her to respond. I walked out, and I didn't look back. For the first time in a long while, I felt like I was doing something for myself. I wasn't going to let them tear me down anymore. It hurt to leave, but I realized I had been holding on to something that wasn't real, a family that never saw me for who I truly was. I didn't know what came next. All I knew was that I was choosing my peace, even if it meant walking away from everything I thought I'd built. The days after I left were strange. There was no sense of relief at first, just a quiet, empty ache that lingered in the pit of my stomach. I thought walking away would be easier, but it wasn't. Every time I thought about the kids, or Amelia, I felt a wave of guilt hit me. Did I do the right thing? Maybe I was too harsh. Maybe, just maybe, I could have done more. But then I reminded myself, this wasn't just about me. It was about my dignity. It was about me refusing to be the doormat they walked all over. I couldn't keep sacrificing myself for people who didn't appreciate it. I had to put myself first for once. I stopped talking to Amelia and the kids. It wasn't cold, but it was clear. I didn't pick up their calls. I didn't respond to their texts. I started to rebuild my life, little by little. It felt like I was slowly waking up from a nightmare I hadn't realized I was living in. I began doing the things I'd pushed aside for so long, going to the gym, spending time with friends who had always been there for me, and focusing on my own happiness. The silence between me and Amelia stretched on for weeks. At first, I thought she would come around, maybe reach out and apologize. But she never did. She never even tried to fix things. And that was when I realized, maybe she wasn't the person I thought she was. She had chosen her kids over me, and in the end, she never even considered what I was going through. She just wanted things to stay the same, to go back to how they were when everything was easy. And the kids? They never really tried to make amends either. Sure, they apologized, but it was more about them getting what they wanted, someone to take care of them. They didn't understand that it wasn't just about me doing things for them. It was about respect, about being valued. and they never truly saw that. I was alone, but I wasn't lonely. I was free. It felt like a weight had been lifted off my shoulders, but the pain of what I lost still stung. I hadn't just lost a family, I'd lost the idea of the family I had worked so hard to build. But that was the price of standing up for myself. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I wasn't going to keep fighting for people who didn't fight for me. I had to find peace in myself, even if it meant walking away from everything I once held dear. As the weeks passed, something strange started to happen. I was getting used to the silence, but the regret didn't go away. I kept wondering if I'd made the wrong choice, if I'd overreacted, if I should have tried harder to make things work. One evening, I got a text from Amelia. Just one short message, "Can we talk?" At first, I didn't want to respond. I'd spent so much time trying to cut ties, trying to move on. But part of me, that stupid part, wanted to know what she had to say. Maybe she finally understood. Maybe this was her way of reaching out, of admitting she'd made a mistake. So I agreed to meet up. I wasn't expecting much, honestly. I just needed closure. I needed to know if she still saw me as the person who'd given everything for her and the kids. Or if I was just a stepping stone in her life. We met at a coffee shop. Amelia looked the same, like nothing had changed. Her eyes were tired, but there was no trace of guilt in her face, not like I expected. She sat across from me, her fingers tapping nervously on the table. "I've been thinking a lot," she started, "about everything, and I realize now how much you did for us." I couldn't help but feel a small flicker of hope. Maybe she was finally seeing things clearly. Maybe I hadn't wasted all those years. "I'm sorry for how I treated you," she said. "I should have stepped in more. I should have supported you." I nodded, waiting for her to say more, but it didn't come. She didn't offer an apology for how things went down, for how she let her kids walk all over me. It was more like she was apologizing for the fact that I had left, not for the way she had treated me while I was still there. "You didn't deserve what happened," she continued, "but it wasn't enough." Her words felt empty, like she was saying what she thought I wanted to hear. And in that moment, I realized something: I couldn't go back. Not after everything. Even if she apologized, even if she said all the right things, I knew it was too late. There was no fixing what had been broken. The damage had already been done, and I couldn't unfeel the betrayal I'd felt for all those years. I stood up, said a quick goodbye, and left. There was no hug, no promises to try again. Just the cold realization that I had made the right choice. I thought the pain would end once I got the apology, but it didn't. The regret, the what-ifs, they still lingered. Maybe I'd never get over it, but I had to keep moving forward. I had to. There was nothing else left to do. The days after that meeting felt weird. Not better, not worse, just strange. I spent a lot of time thinking about how things ended, questioning everything, replaying every moment of the past few years. And I couldn't shake the feeling that I had given so much, and for what? A family that didn't want me? An entire life where I was just a convenience? I still had moments where I wondered if I could have stuck it out, tried harder to make things work. But those thoughts only lasted a moment before I reminded myself of the bigger picture. The bigger picture was that I had been treated as disposable. Amelia hadn't been the partner I thought she was, and the kids hadn't been the family I'd hoped for. It hurt, no doubt about it. Walking away from them wasn't easy. There was a part of me that kept hoping, kept thinking maybe, just maybe, things would be different. But the truth was staring me in the face: nothing would ever be different unless I made the change. And that change meant leaving. So I kept going. I kept moving forward. I didn't contact them. I didn't reach out. Every time I felt that nagging pull to check in, I reminded myself that they hadn't fought for me when it mattered. They hadn't seen my worth, and I couldn't keep trying to make them see it. I started to focus on myself. I made new connections, deepened old friendships that had fallen by the wayside while I was caught up in trying to fix a broken family. I spent more time with people who cared about me, people who showed up for me. It wasn't easy, but it was necessary. But still, there were moments, those quiet, lonely moments when I remembered what I had lost. The family dinners. The birthdays. The feeling of belonging somewhere. It was easy to forget how much I had invested until I was alone with my thoughts. But I knew this: I had to let go. For my own sanity, for my own peace of mind, I had to stop looking back. I had to stop wondering if things could have been different. They weren't going to be. And I couldn't keep living in the past, clinging to a family that wasn't there anymore. I had made the right choice, even if it hurt more than I ever imagined. It was time to move forward, not just for them, but for me. And so, I did. It's been months now, and honestly, I'm in a better place. Not perfect, but better. I found my peace, finally. The guilt, the anger, the regret, it's still there sometimes, but it doesn't control me anymore. I've been doing things I never had time for before: traveling, picking up old hobbies, just taking care of myself. I've learned to appreciate the quiet, to enjoy being alone without feeling like something's missing. I've learned that I'm enough, just as I am. Every now and then, I'll hear about how the kids are doing or how Amelia's holding up, but I've stopped caring. I've stopped letting their lives affect mine. I know I did the best I could, and at the end of the day, that's all I can control. If they ever reach out again, I don't know if I'll respond. I don't know if I'll ever let them back in. I'm not bitter. I'm just done. I've spent too many years giving and not getting back what I deserved. Now, it's my turn to put myself first. I'm not looking for revenge or closure anymore. I'm just living. And for the first time in a long time, I'm happy with where I am.
Bye.